everyone, it's Lindy on here from Pink Whisper Designs. Today I thought we'd make a fun mini slimline card, and we're going to be making a holiday card. And we'll also be using some glimmer paste. So let's go ahead and get started. For paper, I'm using the Strathmore Bristol Smooth 100-pound cardstock. And I've cut this paper 2 3/4 inches by 5 3/4 inches. And then I'm taking the 5th largest die. This is the Art Impressions rounded rectangle double stitch dies. And I'm going to place that up towards the top of this panel. And then I'll tape that down with a little bit of purple tape. And I'm running that through my Sizzix Sidekick machine. So once I have that die cut, we're going to place that panel right back inside there. I did want to do my die cutting first because we're going to be adding some glimmer paste, and I don't want to cut this panel after we add the paste. So I die cut it first, but I'm placing it right back in there, and we're going to be adding some Distress Oxide Ink, and this is the Speckled Egg. And all I'm doing here is I'm using my Hero Arts blender brush, and I'm going to apply a nice even coating of that all the way around this panel. And then I'll go ahead and quickly heat set that. Now I'll just take a little bit of my Tombow tape runner here and just attach this temporarily down to my glass media mat. That'll just hold it in place while I do my stenciling. So I've got this beautiful stencil here. This is from Lawn Fawn, and this is called the Snowy Sky Stencil. I'm going to tape that down with a little bit of purple tape here just to hold that in place. And then I'm using the Nuvo glimmer paste. This is a beautiful, clear, sparkly paste, and this is called Moonstone. So I'll just use my palette knife here to just get quite a bit there on the knife and just sort of lay it right here at the top. And then I'm going to use my stencil pal. This is from iCraft, and I'm going to go ahead and just spread that nice and evenly all the way down. And this little stencil pal just makes it really easy to spread this evenly and quickly. So I'll scrape off any excess and put that right back in the jar. And then I'll put that little top back on. I like to keep those just to keep it nice and moist. You can also add some saran wrap or some press and seal here if you want as well. So now I'll remove that stencil, and you can see this beautiful glimmery snowflakes that we have. So I'm going to lift that off my glass media mat, and then I'll just wipe away any of that excess around the edges there. And I'll set those two aside to dry. Now with my white gesso, once that was dry, I'm going to add a little white gesso here to my glass media mat. I'll spritz that with a little bit of water from my Distress sprayer, and then I'll go ahead and spatter this panel. And I did use a little bit larger paintbrush here because I want those spatters to be a little bit larger. If you want tinier ones, just use a smaller brush here. So now I'll go ahead and heat set that. Now I've got a piece of cardstock, 3 inches by 12 inches. And this is the Strathmore Bristol Smooth cardstock, which does come in the 12-inch pad. So I'm scoring that at 6 inches, and that'll allow me to do a mini slimline top folding card. So that'll measure 3 inches by 6 inches. And that panel is going to fit right on the front there. So now I want to do my images for the card. So I'm going to use that little birdhouse and those 2 little birds from this adorable little Snow Friend set from Art Impressions. So I've got these 2 cute little birds, and then I'm also going to grab another stamp from this set here. I'm going to be using the little holly and berries, and that's the Christmas Wreath Set, again from Art Impressions. And that set comes with a coordinating die for the bow and for the wreath. It does not have a die for this holly and berry set though, so we'll be cutting that out by hand. And I'm going to stamp 3 of those all totaled. So I'll go ahead and stamp that with my VersaFine Onyx Black ink, and I'm going to stamp that a couple of times. And then again, I'll stamp 2 more of the holly and berry. Now using dark oatmeal, marine green, haze blue, light pink, and carmine red. These are the Zig Clean Color Real Brush pens. I'm going to go ahead and color in all of these images. Now I did start with the light pink, but I really didn't need to because I did use that red, that carmine red all over. So it really covered up the pink. So you really don't need to do that little pink cheek at first here. So I'm going to just add some little shadows here, and then I'll just use the one color and blend that out to a lighter shade. So I'm not going to introduce another red color here. I'm just going to use this one color. So I'm doing some simple blending here with the blender pen from the Zig Clean Color Real Brush pens. And again, you could use a water brush here if you prefer. I just find the blender to be a lot easier to do blending on these smaller images. And then I did grab the orange just to do the little beak on these birds and the feet as well. I did the other bird the same way. And then for the berries, I'm going back to the carmine red. And I'll just pull that color over towards the side. Again, to add shading, I'm using that same red again and just adding a little more shading. And then I'm going to that marine green and just adding a little bit of a darker color at the base of those leaves and pulling it out towards the edges there. So I did all 3 of those the exact same way. And then I'm going back to the carmine red to do the bow. Again, just adding that shadowing here. Now you could introduce a darker red if you wanted to do a little deeper shadowing, but I didn't really want to add any more colors, so I'm just sticking with this one red color. And you can remove some ink from there if you get too much. You can just grab it off the image and scribble it on your scrap paper. Now I'll do the little stripes or the little ribbon that's wrapped around the pole here, and I'll just put that red off to the left side and pull it over towards the right. Now I'm going to the oatmeal, and I'll just add that color all over here. And then I'll go to the dark oatmeal to do my shadows. I will do the base of the little birdhouse the same way here, just adding some shadows up underneath that snow there. And then I'll go back to that haze blue to add a little bit of a shadow to the snow. And then I used it in the openings of the windows there as well. And then I did decide to introduce a little bit of the dark gray to do the roof on this little birdhouse. And I'm just putting the color off to the left side and just pulling it over towards the right there. And adding a little shadow under each of those little panels on that roof. So again, I colored the rest of those in off camera, and I'm adding a little bit of that haze blue to the scarf. And then I did decide to come back in with that oatmeal and add a little bit to their faces there, just to darken those up just a little bit. I just thought they were a little too red. So now I'm going to cut these out. I'm going to fussy cut these and leave a little white border all the way around. So I went ahead and did that. Now I'm going to grab this little banner here These are the flag double stitch dies from Art Impressions. And I'll go ahead and run that through my Sizzix Sidekick machine, again using the Strathmore Bristol Smooth cardstock. So I'm going to tape this to my mini Misty and I'll stamp my sentiment. So I'm going back to this same stamp set and I'm going to grab that one there that says Warmest Holiday Wishes. And I'll place this off to the left a little bit here. I'm going to be placing that holly and berries right there on the right hand side, so I just want to make sure that I have enough room for that. So I've taped that down with a little bit of tape from the Tombow tape runner, and then I'm going to ink that up with the VersaFine Onyx Black ink, and I will stamp that a couple of times. I did decide to die cut 2 more of those same banners, just to thicken this up a little bit, just to give it a little bit more substance. So I'm going to tape those together using my ATG 700 tape dispenser. And that's a nice permanent tape. And that'll give us a nice thick label here for the bottom of our card. So now I'll go ahead and put a little bit of ink around the edges of this using the Speckled Egg Distress Oxide ink that we used before. And that'll just give us a little shadow around the edges. Now I want to attach my little birdhouse first, and I did decide to pop that up. So I'm using some Scotch foam mounting tape and I'll just pop that up. And I want to make sure I use plenty of tape here so that it doesn't get crushed going through the mail. So I'm just going to make sure I put plenty of little pieces of tape there, and I'll go ahead and remove the backing. I'm going to just push that down just a little bit here. I'll center it on that panel, and then I'm going to cut away the excess. Now I also want to pop up this frame panel as well. So I'll put plenty of tape on the back of this panel, and then I'll go ahead and remove the backing. And I'm just going to center this on the front of my card. So now I want to attach this in the center of that frame, and I'm using my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive. I did want to use a glue here so that I can slide it around just a little bit and make sure it's perfectly in place there. So you can see that I can kind of slide that around just a little bit there. Now I'll go ahead and attach the little bird, and I'm going to add some glue and then a little bit of foam tape here down at the bottom, just to make sure it's nice and level with that frame. And then I'll add my 2 little holly and berry leaves here, and I'll add a little foam tape to these as well. And I'm just going to place one in each corner, and then we'll be putting one on that banner down below as well. Now I've got my sentiment. I'm going to make sure that stays down nicely, so I'm going back to that ATG permanent tape. And I love how that hangs over the card just a little bit there. It just adds a lot of interest here. And then I've got my leaves, so I'm going to place those down, and I'll place that little bird right on top. So I'll go ahead and glue those down. So now I've got that. I used a little bit of foam tape there as well. Now I'm using my Wink of Stella glitter gloss pen, and I'll add some sparkle to the snow here. And a little bit to the scarves on those little birds. And then I'll take my Uniball Signo white gel pen and add some highlights. And that's just going to make everything pop out a little bit more. We're going to add some to those bows as well. So once that was all set, I'll give you a closer look at our finished card. You can see how cute these little birds are. And I love that glimmer paste background. So we have the combination of the glimmer paste and the spattering from the white gesso. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please hit the like button and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so that you don't miss a single video. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you all have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.